welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Providence Holy Cross Medical Center and Comfort Keepers in Home Care. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Thomas Polucki.
on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And my first guest this morning is my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki.
How'd that happen?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it's crazy. So this is how we started. I don't know, almost 20 years ago. I was just a guest on the show, right?
I know you were.
And unfortunate for you, I just stuck around.
What do you mean, unfortunate for me? I think we get along quite well. You stay on your side, and I'll
Okay.
stay on mine.
All right. Well, we're going to put that to the test today because we got some good stuff. But I'd like to first start off with a quick news review, relevant, topical, what's going on that's relate to the show and what I have to contribute to the show. Usually I'm just interviewing people, but the reason I was a guest and how I moved into the hosting position is a good chunk of my practice is dealing with issues that face the senior
population.
the population.
Absolutely.
So it's not that Dr. Dorio specialized in Medicare patients as a medical doctor.
Yes, and he
Because
still
there
does.
is, specific things that happen as we get older that need a specialist
That's
to
right.
to deal with. In my approach, the things that we focus on are good, healthy practices that actually apply to any age, but become more important as we get
As we
older.
Absolutely.
It's more important to do things right as we get older. And that's evident in the fact that as we get older, we don't heal as quickly and we tend to be on more medications.
And have a tendency to fall.
Yeah. Yeah. So the show today is going to be about maybe, and I'd like to focus mostly on how that affects our mental clarity, memory, and cognition. It's easy to get confused, and I hate to say this because it really has a negative connotation, but the reality is, as we get older, we tend to lose what we consider our mind, right? I
That's
mean,
very true.
we lose our ability to focus, our ability to remember stuff, and that is a very scary prospect facing all of us. I'm not ageist. I'm just pragmatic about
I'm
this.
there, though.
Yeah. So
And I
this
have
show is going to touch on some things that you're going to find, hit home pretty good.
have
But
already hit
yeah,
home.
let's start with something that you do have some experience with, and that is a new study just came out that shows that certain supplements are real good at keeping the brain as healthy as possible as we get older.
Mhm.
And it's not a matter of treating symptoms of dementia. It's a matter of giving the brain the nutrition it needs to stay healthy, right?
Yes.
So some supplements were found to significantly improve cognition and memory in the aging population. And I'm not jumping on this bandwagon. It's not like, oh, I saw this study, so I went out and formulated something. We've had this product around for many years, and
I
can,
use it.
yeah, you can testify to that. Do you feel like it is beneficial?
Yes, I feel like it has benefited me.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to think that it's probably the best formulation out there. I'm a little biased, but
Which one is that?
this is it. Neuro Support and
Oh,
are
yes.
available in our
Yes.
office. So it's not that I'm I'm trying to sell some kind of product. It's that if a product makes it to my shelves, it's because it's good. If I'm
Yes.
going to put my endorsement on it. I used to put my face on it. I used to put my name and my face on my
Yes,
product.
but you do the
Yeah,
research,
yeah.
though.
So I figured out that, well, maybe that isn't the best approach as far as getting my product out there. I've got a face for radio, but I gave up my ego to get my product out to be as available as possible to the public, and this is one of the good ones. Is second, easier. No sales pitch here. Is we always talk about staying hydrated. It is critical, especially as we're moving into the summer
Yes, here
months.
it is.
There we go. I'm going to talk about that specifically. So, for those of you listening right now and not tuning in on Facebook and can't see that Barbara just picked up her water bottle, which has, I think, been surgically attached to her since the time that I've known her because I never see her without it. I love everything about this. One, because it's a reusable, you're not dealing with the controversy of single-use plastic.
Oh, no,
I'm
I
not,
won't use them.
yeah, I'm not getting into
No.
that. I don't feel that there's any safe practice, even if it's BPA plastic, even if it's BPA free, which is just one of the really nasty chemicals in plastics. And the reality is that the purer the water is, the more likely it is to leach the nasty stuff out of the plastic. So I'm a big proponent. I know it's not convenient. I know it weighs more. I know there's the chance of it shattering on you, but all of that is outstripped. Glass is always best.
Yes, but I have a bag here
There you go.
that I keep my purse in and keep my water in,
There
and
you
it
go.
goes with me
Yep. Yeah. Wearable
everywhere.
wearable water supply. I love it.
Yes.
So here's here's a Jersey Shore tongue twister to just to baffle Siri. Jersey Shore mind trick, memory trick. So the formulation that I use, because water by itself, again, the purer the water, the more likely it is to leach things, to pull things out of its surrounding, including the cells of your body. So good, high quality filtered water can actually dehydrate you. Does that sound insane or what?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Most people know something about osmosis, right? You may have heard it in like
Yes.
science class or something like that. And a lot of people have a reverse osmosis system under their sink to make their water as clean as possible. Well, that goes on inside the cells of your body as well. So the more pure the water is, the more it's going to pull things from its surrounding environment. In the case of your body, you put like distilled or highly purified water through your system, that is going to pull salts and electrolytes out of the cells, and then the water within the cells has to follow them. That's what osmosis is.
Okay, but every time I fill this up,
Uh-huh.
I also put salt in it.
There you go. Okay, so
Yes,
that's part of
every
the
single
equation
time.
that we're getting to. So that looks like about a quart. So the formula is a quarter teaspoon of sea salt and a quarter teaspoon of sugar. Now I know I'm going to get some hate on this, but sugar is not bad. In fact, cane sugar is more bioidentical than fruit sugar, and I don't even want to get into artificial sweeteners.
Oh, no, no,
But
no.
table sugar, and now you have to be careful about getting it from cane, which is what we used to call sugar. Not all sugar is made from cane anymore.
No, it isn't.
And I don't even want to get into that conversation either. But cane sugar is nearly half the formula of the sugar that your blood, your whole system runs on. Fructose, which is the sugar in fruits, is something completely different. And it has to go through a bunch of steps in your body that aren't necessarily good for you in order to make it available in your body. So a lot of people, oh, I won't touch table sugar. I'm going to have fruit instead. Well, that might not be the best strategy when it comes to getting hydration and getting bioavailable sugar into your body as quickly
Yeah,
as
that's a
possible.
different kind of
So, as
sweet.
promised, here's the Jersey Shore thing to drive Siri crazy. The memory trick to remember this formula to make it work. It's a quarter, quarter, quarter water,
quarter water.
a quarter teaspoon of sugar, a quarter teaspoon of salt, and a quart of water. And being from Jersey, I can get away with this, but that's literally how we talk. Quarter, quarter, quarter water, right? It's all the same thing, right? So hopefully that's a helpful memory twist for you. So I'd like to get into what I promised, and that is the how not to lose your mind as you get older.
I've lost part of mine
Yeah, I
already.
get it. Yeah, no
At least
excuses
that's what
here.
I'm told.
But it's serious. Like people, everybody's going to be touched by some form of dementia. Everybody. So, what do we do? It's not being talked about at all. There's no known medication to deal with this. So you don't have the commercials constantly bombarding you. So as long as you don't have the commercials driving an economic incentive to talk about this, it kind of is like ignored for the most part in the overwhelming majority until you've got it and you're dealing with it personally. So I'd like to try to bridge that gap.
Okay.
And the best thing is daily actions to preserve the integrity, the health of your brain. And your brain is not just in a petri dish, it's in your body. So you have to do healthy stuff for your body in order to take care of your brain. Make sense?
Yes, that does make sense.
Yep. Okay. So
Absolutely.
great. So today we're diving into stuff that how mindfulness, and it's not just a buzzword. I'm going to give you practical applications on this. How mindfulness helps us age with power and grace to get us through. Mindfulness is imagine being able to lower your stress, not a bad thing. Keep your mind sharp and enjoy connections. I remember people. Like I can remember things about people. I can remember the way that I treated somebody 30 years ago. And when I mean treat, I mean, in practice. I can remember the details of their condition, what we did, how it worked, how effective it was. I can remember all that. But I have a horrible time remembering their name. How crazy is that? But that's just, and I've heard that some very famous people have this glitch in their system as well. And it's got some kind of, diagnosis label, but I try to stay away from that stuff. I just know that it's a challenge for me to remember people's names. But I imagine being able to be more present in your relationships right here and now. It's not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Not bad. So we're going to share some easy tips and tricks that you can start using today without any doctor talk, without any fancy gadgets, just a little bit of your time. And so if you've ever felt overwhelmed or just like time is flying by, I I do most of the time. This episode today is going to be about how to push that pause button. Just slow things down a little bit and get back to what really matters. So the first step is mindful breathing. Now it sounds crazy. Like, I know how to breathe. Don't tell me. I know how to breathe. And every public class that I ever do, we start off with this exercise, and unless they're an established patient of mine, nobody gets this right. I mean, I have yoga instructors that don't get this right. So, yeah. Um, so mindful breathing, and there's a bunch of moving parts here, but I'm really going to make it accessible to, the average person, because who can be bothered with anything else? So just follow what I do right now, and we'll see how this goes. So do jazz hands, right? So, in jazz hands, you splay your fingers out a little bit. So
Yeah.
you're going to take your left hand and you're going to stick your thumb right in this notch of bone under your throat and above your breastbone, and then just lay your hand down away from it. Yeah, just like that. Nice and easy. Now take your right hand, do the same thing, but this time stick your thumb in your belly button and let your fingers splay down there, right?
Okay.
So this is the hand placement, and drop your elbows in comfortably into your body. And
Okay.
now take a deep breath. Okay, I see Barb. Barb, you're making me a liar. We need to work on this. We're going to do this in real time.
Right.
Let me see, Jen, engineer Jen. Yeah, Jen, you failed too. Okay, so
So you're not
I
supposed.
want to tell you something about this, and then I'll make you feel better. Everybody does this. Everybody does this. When we're told to take a deep breath, you heave up your chest, thinking that that's getting air into your lungs, but it only gets air into the top 10% of your lungs, and simultaneously triggers the emergency reaction chemical system in your body. So when I have people do deep breathing exercises, I immediately check this, because people can tell me, "Yeah, I do deep breathing, but it doesn't work. It doesn't do everything that they tell me it's supposed to do. It doesn't relax me. I don't feel good about it, and I just don't." I'm like, "Okay, let's take a look at this." So the key is deep belly breathing. So when you use all your diaphragm to drop your lungs down and suck air down into the deep part of your lungs by expanding your belly without moving your rib cage at all, it's the exact opposite of heaving your chest up. We have these emergency accessory respiration muscles in our neck to get that last 10% when we're literally running for our lives, running or fighting for our lives. We have that little extra 10% that we can call on. But if you always breathe deeply in that emergency reaction system, it triggers all the emergency reaction chemicals in your body. And that's the last thing you want to do in a breathing exercise. So try again to take a deep breath, but only move the belly and not the chest at all. So go ahead, try and do it again. Deep breath. Much better. Can
Oh
you
yeah, I can tell a
you
difference.
can feel a difference
Yes.
instantly, right? With that, we're just scratching the surface here, but that's
Interesting.
the breathing. When I say, have you done your breathing exercise? This is what, and it takes practice. We all
Yes.
think we know how to breathe, but we all think we know how to do everything. We all think we know how to eat right and exercise properly and breathe and hydrate and all of that. But there are subtle nuances that make all the difference of making this work, or just another thing that you do that you check off the box, like, oh yeah, I know that. And I have to have this talk with my patients, and on their initial visit, or not even in a public setting. If I'm talking to a group of people, I say, I want you to put aside, yeah, I know that already, for just a second, because I can tell you
That you
my
don't.
experience is that everybody has room for improvement. I'm number one. I'm always looking to do it better. But in my path, I've already discovered a lot of things that even the gurus out there, the self-proclaimed experts, they're not showing their mass followings. And I'm like, wow, Okay, instead of me just complaining about it, what can I actually do about this? And as my platform, as small or as big as it can possibly get, is all about, well, the details do kind of matter. And that's what today's show is going to be about. We got a lot more to cover when we get back
Okay.
from the break. You're listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS FM 98.1, AM 1220, hometownstation.com.
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS. And our guest this afternoon is my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki.
Yeah.
And let's continue on this very interesting conversation.
Yeah, it's all about not losing your mind as you get older, right?
A lot of mine is already gone.
Yeah, I get it. I wish it was a joke. But basically, these shows, as I said in the break, is my pet peeves about what's bugged me in the past week. Either in my research for like my daily activities or what patients tell me that their gurus have taught them in the past. And well, if that's working, why are you here? Basically. So, the next big one, whenever somebody has a sore back or a sore neck, and this happened, I'm not kidding when I say how I formulate this show. Just on Monday, I had somebody who, had a little bit of some neck tension, and they went on and they did the research online, and they found a million different people saying, oh, well, best stretches for this problem. And so they did those stretches and they wound up in the ER.
Made it
because
worse.
they did the exact wrong thing for their situation. So I'm going to show you how if I had a million viewer following on YouTube, what I would show people, and it wouldn't be called best stretches for, because that's just clickbait.
Yes, it's not
So
the person.
so I would say something like this. Okay, so you've cranked your neck. If your muscles are tight, that's a protective measure. That's your body splinting down those muscles, stopping that injury from getting worse, right? The idea is not to paralyze or force the muscle out of its protective measure. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, but that's not what most people think.
Yeah, crazy. Explain that to the online experts, right? Again, this is all my pet peeves. So this is my therapy session for the month. I get to come out and speak my mind.
On the computer.
As dangerous as that is.
I don't do the computer to find out information like that.
Okay,
So I go to a medical doctor or somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah. Well, a lot of these people are, real licensed physicians.
Oh, I know.
Prescribing doctorate holding physicians with millions of followers. So just take it for what it's worth. If I were to create a instructional video on what to do, maybe not when you're in spasm, but to maintain the health of the structures involved, the joints, the muscles, the nerves, the circulation to your brain, it would look a heck of a lot more like this. Okay, so the movement that happens to move your head around and see what's going on in your body. Believe it or not, that's the medicine of taking care of the health of the muscles, the joints, the circulation going through your neck and supplying your brain with everything it needs to stay happy and healthy.
That's the treatment that you give me.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yes.
So the movement pattern is you're either going to nod your head yes, or not, or turn your head no, or tilt your head like I don't understand, right?
That's
So
right.
that's it. So it's either yes, no, or I don't get it, right? Those are the movement patterns. So, how do you turn that into practical functional medicine? Well, depending on where you're bunching up, where that's stiff, where that's sore, where that's grabbing you, where that's not moving right, those are the things we can work on. Now, here's the disclaimer, the medical disclaimer on what I'm showing you. If any movement pattern creates any kind of dizziness or graying out or loss of focus in your vision or feeling unbalanced and dizzy or any kind of shooting pain that goes anywhere in your body, stop immediately. I mean, I know that seems like common sense, but I'm giving information and I have a license, so I have to be careful. Just any weird stuff like that happens, you stop immediately. And you may even be having a medical emergency. So I'm not ruling that out, but I'm just saying this is designed to keep the joints, the muscles, the circulation in your brain as healthy as possible. And if you do it and you feel some stiffness, feel some soreness, that tells you that you've got a problem. Not a problem to go to the ER, but you may want to call me. And again, if you do have a different kind of problem, like you get dizzy or your vision changes or you get confused or you can't make a sentence anymore or you have shooting pain going somewhere, you got to stop immediately and maybe even call 911. Did I make that clear, Barb?
Yes, absolutely.
Did I make that clear, Jen?
Yes.
Okay.
And that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Otherwise, any kind of restriction in movement, any kind of local pain that just isn't right, that doesn't require a trip to the ER, but it may need some help from someone like me. So we're just going to do, okay, so yes, nice and easy, back and forth. If you feel some tightness, some tension, and it may not be right in the head, neck, or shoulders, but it may light something up down in the shoulder blade or in the
Yes,
shoulder blade,
absolutely. I
especially
can
in
feel
between the
it.
shoulder blades or just below the shoulders.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a sign that there's something jammed up in that movement pattern and it needs help from someone like me. You can try to work through this, and sometimes it is possible to work through this on your own, but sometimes it's not. So, try it a little bit, see how that works. And if you're still getting that localized pain of, when you move, something doesn't feel right in
Yeah,
there.
it's not necessarily pain,
Yeah, you may need
but
to call me at
something's going on.
661-753-9340. That's something that the ER is just going to look at you like, what are you doing here? You're wasting my time. But this is what we take care of for our patients. So we did yes, and now we do no, which is just nice and slow, chin to shoulder, turning your head from side to side. And again, see if there's anything that's catching, anything that's tight, anything that doesn't feel right. Especially on this one, you can hear some crackling noises going on. It feels like or sounds like you're stepping on leaves or something. And because the joints that are involved with that are so close to the inner ear, it sounds like you're in a movie and you're hearing someone walking through the forest floor and stepping on branches and stuff like that. That's another indicator that you should probably give me a call. That it's not going to excite your primary physician. It's not going to excite the ER techs. They've got lives to save, but that doesn't mean that just because it's not a life and death situation that everything is okay. And that's what we deal with, right? So then the final one is tilt your head from side to side. And you should be able to get your ear pretty close to your shoulder without having to hike up your shoulder and see how that feels. And if it's moving, if it's painful, if you get on uh, any kind of, again, localized pain, like in the base of the skull or in the neck itself, which is rare, but it does happen, or again, in the shoulder, then this is something that you need some help with.
What about crackling?
Yeah, that
That,
crackling is it's complicated because a lot of people think that, well, it's making noise, the noise isn't right. I should go to somebody who knows about this. And again, it won't get your primary physician excited. He's just going to say, well, you're XYZ age. What do you expect? That's going to be his
well,
response to that.
it did it the first couple of
Yeah.
times. Now it's not doing it.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. These movement patterns aren't just, taking up your time in the day. They are actually getting movement back into the structures that aren't moving properly. The short answer is that noise is not normal. That noise is a signal that the movement pattern of those structures is not normal. So stress builds up in the joints, in the muscles, in the connective tissues, and they start becoming like a squeaky hinge. Like that's the best analogy.
Squeaky.
And if you leave a hinge without the oil, in this case, circulation and movement is the oil. Circulation and movement in the spine is the lubricating factor. And without that lubrication, you start building rust. In the case of the human body, it's not, you're not iron and you're not going to rust, but you are going to start breaking down the integrity of the joint. And that, the scary thing is, you can see this stuff with the proper imaging, not in decades like we used to believe, not even in years like until just recently believed, but in weeks. You start seeing the breakdown of the joints within a few weeks. So I don't want to be overly dramatic about this, but this stuff is real and it does have effects. And there's great research out there that shows that these restrictions in the neck not just lead towards the end product of arthritis. Like arthritis, oh, well, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have some arthritis. If it gets bad we'll go in surgically and we'll scrape some of that arthritis off, which, unfortunately is necessary for some people, but it doesn't fix the problem. The problem is the movement pattern's off. The joint isn't getting the health that it needs. So what's compromised? The joint surfaces, the connective tissues, the circulation going through that area, and the nerve supply to and from the brain. It's all being compromised by this. That's the conversation that nobody except someone like me will have because we're functional. And I recently have come to terms with the word holistic. Used to be I stayed away from that word because it was almost religious in nature, like, oh, I don't want to, yeah, but the reality is holistic is not a bad word. Holistic just means that it's a whole approach about your diet, your exercise, you're managing your stress more effectively, making sure that you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah, your
And
mode of
so,
living.
yeah, so I'm okay with the word holistic now. It's not a bad thing, right? So, okay, so we did the movement patterns to keep the neck as healthy as possible, right? So, next is almost invariably, whether it's coming from a shoulder injury or just the daily stresses of life, people tend to hold their stress in their shoulders. Yes, everybody? Yes, everybody. Yes. Okay. So, um, the this is the simplest movement pattern. We have like 10 degrees of movement patterns, but this is the simplest to get things going. The shoulder is a ball and socket joint. It's the most freely movable joint that the body creates, right? So, whenever you move a ball in its full circle, then you're doing everything that the joint can do. This comes close to it, not really, because it's only two-dimensional. It's close enough for this show. So it's just like rowing the boat, right? Keep your elbows in close to your body, and you're going to row the boat, row the boat, row the boat. And then you're going to row the boat in reverse. So go in the opposite direction, right? Keeping your elbows in tight to your body. Now, getting back to what I was talking about with the breathing pattern, gets a little complicated. So, and when you're in the moving to the back of your body, I want you to focus on breathing in. And when we breathe in through our nose and we breathe out through our mouth. So as we're moving backward, regardless in which direction we're moving, if we're moving towards the back of our body, we're sucking the air in. And as we push out to the front, if we move out to the front, we're blowing the air out. So it's in, back, and out forward, in, back, and out forward. And even in the opposite direction, the breathing pattern stays the same. When you're rolling back, it's back with the breath in and blow out. So this is like high level Tai Chi, mindfulness, energy, movement pattern, rehabilitation, all in one.
And I need to take a break.
Yeah.
Yes. Boy, time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more when we get back. You've been listening to Senior Hour KHTS FM 98.1, AM 1220, hometownstation.com.
With my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. And my guest today is Dr. Thomas Polucki, my co-host.
How you
and
like
I've
that?
got a frog in my throat, haven't I?
All right. Maybe you need a sip of water.
A sip of water.
Water. All right.
Water. What's water?
Yeah.
It's water.
A quarter water. All right. So we've talked about a lot today. Some supplements are actually proven to help with the keeping your mind clear during the aging process. Hydration is critical. I shared a few movement patterns. I actually had a lot more. We never get to half the stuff that I want to cover, but that's just the way it is.
Maybe we can do it next time.
Maybe. Mindful breathing, where you're breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. Your chest is not moving at all. It's all being pulled down from your diaphragm, and your belly moves, but your chest doesn't. That's healing breathing, as opposed to the stress breathing that everybody does. And it's a mess. Some simple neck movement patterns, better than stretches. Like I said earlier, this show is all about my pet peeves that I've had over the past week in dealing with the public, and I get to vent some of that frustration on you, the listeners of the Senior Hour, so you don't get caught in the same trap that so many out there are
Yes, but
setting.
what you're talking about, though, is helpful.
Yeah, well, yes. That's the idea.
Yes. It's helpful.
Yeah.
And if you can see it on the, what is it, YouTube that we're on?
Yeah.
Then you'll know what you've been talking about, because you've been doing those exercises, as have I.
Yeah. Shoulder rolls. And the key here is breathe in as the shoulders are moving to the back of your body, and breathe out as the shoulders are moving to the front of your body. We didn't get to a couple of other important ones, but there's no way that I can in these next 2 minutes of airtime. So I'd just like to recap a little bit. As we wrap up today's show, let's leave with some powerful thoughts. Resilience and adaptability are the keys to overcoming life's challenges. Everybody has challenges at every age. It's not about how many times we fall, because we're all going to fall. It's about how many times you get back up. That's all. That's the secret formula of success,
Yes, it is.
period.
Yes, absolutely.
And each challenge is just another step on your path. Hopefully today, I've swept some of the more jagged pebbles from the path. And if we stay focused on the goal instead of focused on the situation, what do you really want to have happen here instead of what's going on with me right now? I don't understand. How are you going to fix this for me? Which is, unfortunately what we're force fed in this society.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah, stay hydrated. That's a key.
Very important.
Stay focused on the goal and be flexible in getting there, because you can't always see the goal. The goal is not always in clear sight.
It's true.
But what is guaranteed is pretty much everything else in society is designed to distract you from your approach. So it does really pay to stay focused. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. Keep those thoughts in mind until we get to talk again. Hopefully my therapy session has been beneficial for everybody. Stay empowered, and remember, you have the strength to face anything that comes your way. And if you want a little help with that, call me at 661-753-9340. You've been listening to the Senior Hour at KHTS FM 98.1 AM 1220, hometownstation.com. We're sponsored by Comfort Keepers and Providence Holy Cross. Now go and enhance your quality of life.